a lot of people have been cheated on, unfortunately. Infidelity is, I hate to say a common occurrence, but it is a common occurrence, all right? So many people have experienced this. It's hurtful. It sucks. And I hate to say, but it ain't going away, at least as far as it's going to happen in certain people's relationships, right? Not everyone's, but certain people's. And I think because of that reality, you have to become aware of the signs, the things that are telling you that your partner, this man, may be cheating on you. Now, I want to say this real quick. As I go through these signs, I don't want you to just jump quick to, oh, he must be cheating. And that's why I take time to really break things down, explain, because there's various angles to certain things. And we don't want to jump right to certain conclusions. However, these are common signs that can be very well meaning he's cheating. Now, I want to answer a big question that I always get before we get to the list. And that's the question of, do all men cheat? And the answer is no. All men do not cheat, all right? As much as you may be hearing various stories and you feel like you've heard all kinds of amazing women getting cheated on, it doesn't happen to everybody. There's a lot of relationships where the cheating never occurred. There's a lot of men who are extremely loyal, faithful men. Hell, there are men who are being treated poorly in their relationship. There are men being abused in their relationship, and they still have not cheated, and they still will not cheat, okay? And there's all kinds of various reasons why some do and some don't. And sometimes the person who isn't a cheater at heart, so to speak, finds himself in that position. Now, I know to some of y'all that's like, that sounds like BS. No, because it can happen to women too, right? Not everyone who ends up walking that path was someone who believed in that kind of a lifestyle, right? But there are tons of people where they fall on both sides of this situation. Now, another question I want to answer, but I'm going to mention it now, but I'll answer it at the end of the video. And that's the question of, can a man still love you if he cheats on you? Now, we're going to put a pin in that. I know some of y'all are anxious to hear that one, but let's get to the list, okay? So the first sign of a man who's cheating on you, and I'm sorry, real quick, you know, I put in the title what most women miss, but the reality is that most of y'all don't miss these signs, you overlook them. You rationalize past them. You fear having to face them in the potential reality of what they mean. So I do want to encourage you that a lot of this is me just reinforcing what you already know, but hopefully you'll have the courage to then address it and not run from these issues, okay? So, first sign is constantly picking fights with you that lead to him leaving, all right? So, again, when a man is cheating, he's trying to create opportunities to where he can go do his thing. Or, I mean, for some men, they already have it set up a certain kind of way. But when you have a man who's always picking a fight or an argument, and I've seen this happen tons of times. And again, the key is it leads to him leaving, because it's one thing for y'all to be constantly fighting, but his behind is right there in the house, on the couch, or in your room. Then we can't sit here and claim that he's doing it for the purpose of cheating. But when it always leads to, I need to leave, I need to go, and then he's gone for hours, right? He's gone for lengths of time where he got enough time to go do his thing. Yes, it is possible that he is cheating. Now, here's the thing. The issue in this dynamic, this specific example, isn't really, I don't really want you focused on, is he cheating, even though that's what the video is about. I want you to really start with, why y'all always arguing? Because if we can because if we can't fix the arguing, whether he's cheating or not does not matter. So basically, even if you guys are constantly fighting, even if he's picking some of these fights and it's leading to him leaving the house, and again, it's not 100% that he's leaving for the purpose of cheating. So even if he's leaving and he's not cheating, well, you still have a problem because y'all are always fighting. And there's always negativity in the household. So we have to get to the bottom, the root of why is this occurring? Because I see so many people get fixated on the bigger surface issue that they miss the root issue. And now, even if you fix the surface, so for some people listening to this, they might think the answer is, oh, don't let him leave the house after the argument, right? But that don't fix nothing because y'all are still arguing. You have to get to a place where you guys can have healthy discussions and communication with each other. And if that can't be achieved, whether you can prove he's cheating or not, he needs to go. Because there's no point in continuing in a relationship that's going to be so negative, so toxic, causing you so much stress. So yes, it's a sign, but be mindful of what you're really focused on when addressing this issue. All right, now the next sign that a man gives before he cheats is shady phone behavior. Now, some of y'all might be a little triggered because some of y'all the ones being shady. And some people think, oh, well, that we deserve privacy with our phones and we shouldn't have to share our phones with our partners and all these things. Now, listen, I think everyone's entitled to doing their relationship the way they feel is best. And if two people come together and they have agreed amongst each other that they want to have that level of privacy with their phone and they're okay with it, that's their choice, right? I will say I don't believe in that. I believe in phone transparency because I believe that it sets the stage for less secrecy, confusion, misinterpretation, assumptions of wrongdoing. And even though, yes, some people might argue, well, yeah, I've seen people give access to their phone and they're still cheating. Yes, that's still possible, right? But I still believe that at least having that foundation increases the chance of peace in the household. However, I'm going to focus more on it's not established that you guys are having this privacy that you guys are okay with. And one person just seems to, the man, act funny with the phone. Now, what's acting shady and funny with the phone, at least from my perspective? It's whenever there's a phone call, they got to walk out the room. They can never speak in front of you. Never. Sometimes, of course, or some situations, if you're watching TV, you don't expect the person to sit there and talk on the phone while you're watching TV is blasting loud. You know, if there's certain dynamics where it's completely understandable for someone to walk out the room. But when it's a constant thing, even in situations where it wasn't really necessary or called for, that's a cause for concern. All right. When someone is overly protective with their phone, you've seen these videos on TikTok or social media, and it'd be like little skits, and the woman gets the phone, the man starts like chasing her, or just overreacting. Like, though it's funny in that video, that's an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a red flag. Like, why are you so acting scared? Now, for some situations, I'm just throwing this in there. Sometimes people aren't actively cheating, but they have what some would consider inappropriate things still in their phone. And there is an argument you can say of what people feel like they should have to delete and get rid of once they get into a new relationship. Okay? And some people don't want to release and remove those things that they have memories of or they hold on to for whatever their reasons are. And that might be what they don't want to be seen and then ask to have removed. Again, that's a different video that we'd have to get deeper into that. But I'm just giving you the other angle in that scenario. But ultimately, anything that makes you feel uncomfortable can qualify as shady behavior. Because it doesn't have to necessarily be shady. It's the issue is it causing some kind of friction in the relationship? All right. And if it is, it needs to be addressed. Again, is it an 100% automatic he's cheating? No, but it is a common occurrence in situations where the man is actually cheating. So you have to be mindful of it. And real quick, before I move on to the next point, let me say this. You can't take issue with his shady behavior. Well, you can, but don't be a hypocrite and take issue with his if you're doing the same things. So I have seen some situations, both sides, of course, where one person is holding their partner to a standard of transparency and openness, but they're not upholding that standard on their end. And so if you as a woman are doing that, understand all you're doing is undermining your ability to bring resolution in that type of scenario. So practice what you preach, basically. All right, so now, another sign a man gives before he cheats is he's stopped trying to be intimate with you. So we got to unpack this because there's some layers to this, okay? Let me start with this reality. There are a lot of situations, and I will say I've seen this more commonly in marriage than in boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, but it can happen both ways. Where you'll have a situation where the two people are sexually active, everything seems to be going fine. There comes a point where the woman, in many cases, starts to be less receptive, all right? And when the man's making attempts to have sex, she's tired, she has a headache, maybe there's kids involved, and she's like, there's kids in the house, whatever. Either way, it starts a pattern of constant rejection of that man's intimate advances, right? And at some point, that man starts to give up on trying as hard to be intimate. Now, in a scenario like that, I think it's completely unfair to jump to he's cheating. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible that he is, and we'll get more into that. I'm simply saying that when the stage has been set to where he is being neglected sexually and there is constant rejection, it's another one of those we have to focus on the root issue. And sometimes a lot of men, they don't give up and cheat. A lot of men, and well, some people might consider this cheating, depends on who you are. But they give up and they start watching a lot of porn or more porn, all right? They start self-pleasuring. They find other outlets, but they're not actually going to sleep with another woman. Now, again, there are some people who consider porn cheating. That's up to you. Everyone sees that differently, right? And some people may even view self-pleasuring as cheating. Again, that is your perception, your choice on how you view that. But the point is, I want to make that it doesn't automatically mean he's going to other women. I feel the need to throw this in right quick. Also understand that getting other women and sleeping with women in general ain't some easy task for every man. Like, I think women sometimes think that men can just go out and snap their fingers and get some if they want. Some guys maybe, to a certain extent. But the average man can't. So for a lot of guys, when he's frustrated at home, when he's not getting that action at home, his outlet will be porn. His outlet will be self-pleasure. It won't be another woman because that takes a different level of effort. That takes a level of success to be had, as well as that takes a dynamic that some men don't want to deal with or may not even have the time for. See, it's easy to go jump in front of his computer and do his thing. It's nothing to go out there trying to make something happen with another woman, worry about getting caught, someone finding out. That can be very stressful for a guy, and he's not going to go through all that. So all that to say, yes, it doesn't mean automatically another woman is involved, but you do have to consider what stage has been set? What has been the foundation that we have in this relationship for intimacy? Now, if the scenario is very different, where you guys have been intimate, everything's going great, you are receptive to him, and now he himself just out of nowhere stops. It's not you saying no to him all the time. It's not some constant neglect. He is now, if anything, neglecting you or not trying anymore. Now, once again, I don't want us to jump straight to he's a cheater, because there are mental health issues that could be at play. There are issues of impotency, okay? There are issues of even porn addiction that can have a very strong impact on his level of desire and willingness to be intimate with his partner, all right? And then I hate to say it, but it's a true thing. There is also the factor of attraction level in the relationship. All right. Meaning if, let's say, kids have come into play, or even not, let's not even say kids, because I know a lot of people, they're sensitive about that issue, and I'll say that for another time. But let's just say, time goes on along and we start changing. Maybe some people let themselves go, right? And the attraction starts to drop, okay? And with that attraction dropping, the level of desire starts to wane as well. And so, when it's that scenario, I do think, as far as the woman was receptive and now the man just starts stopping, I think we have to explore all those things I just mentioned, but there is a greater chance in that scenario compared to the first one I gave that he may be cheating. All right. And because he is intimate with someone else, he has less desire and willingness to be intimate with his woman. And sometimes, and again, I'm only explaining these things. I am not validating. I'm not excusing. I'm just explaining. I will say that I have seen a lot of scenarios where though the partner is receptive to her man intimately, she does not show up for him in the bedroom the way that he wants it. All right. So the certain acts that he desires, the certain energy that he wants from her, whatever, he doesn't get that from her. So it's like, yeah, I'll go in there, I'll lay down with you, we can knock this out. But she's not doing what he really wants. And so what happens is some men, yes, go outside of the relationship and they get those types of things that he wants in the bedroom from some other woman. Now, I know a lot of y'all going to say, well, why can't he just leave the woman? We're going to say that for another video as well, because some of these things are just so deep for us to have to discuss. But I will say this. Leaving is not always the option in that man's mind, because one, in some scenarios, he's hoping things will change. In other scenarios, there's just so much more at play, meaning if finances are tied up, if kids are involved, years put in, integration into family, there's so much more that complicates the situation that for some people, they just feel like it's easier to do my thing on the side and keep this going versus to blow this whole thing up and try to find somebody else to be with. Again, just explaining, not validating. All right, so let's keep this going. And another sign men give before they cheat is constant gaslighting. All right. So simply put, when you're dealing with someone who's always making you feel like you're crazy, you're tripping, what are you talking about? What's going on? And like, you can call him out on certain things and he will have you questioning yourself by the end of that conversation. Hate to laugh, but I'm just saying, like, that's how crazy manipulative some people are, right? And here's the thing, though people may argue like gaslighting can just be a narcissistic trait, not necessarily he's a cheater, right? That's true. That's true. Some people are narcissists and will gaslight. Doesn't mean they're cheating. However, I would argue that narcissism can lead into infidelity and cheating because the narcissist is about themselves. And the reality is that cheating is about fulfilling that person's desires. Like, a lot of people sometimes view cheating like, how could they do this to me? How could they betray me? But that person's mindset isn't about hurting or betraying you. That person's mindset in that moment is about fulfilling their desires, fulfilling whatever, their selfish perception of what I want right now versus what impact they may have otherwise. And in reality, in their mind, their goal is to hide this so that it doesn't have any negative impact. All right. So when someone is a gaslighter, when someone is a narcissist, they're more likely to think in a selfish way that says, I will ignore what this means and what this can do to my relationship. So there is somewhat of a small correlation connection, but it's not an automatic, a gaslighter is a cheater. And some cheaters ain't gaslighters. All right. Some cheaters are just blatant and don't care and just disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? And rather than gaslight, you will just ignore you. You know what I'm saying? And dance around stuff. But you do have to be mindful of that. But again, like in every other sign pretty much that I've given you, I really always want you to be mindful of focusing on the root issue. Because whether he's cheating or not, The issue is, why is this man continuously gaslighting you? And if he is gaslighting you, what else is wrong in this relationship? Because in all my years of doing this, it is extremely rare to find a scenario where someone will do something like gaslight you or verbally abuse you, right? And that's all they do wrong. Like everything else is on point. That's not usually the case. Usually if we have that kind of issue existing, there's another issue that's lingering behind it. Okay? And we get so worried about and locked into the current or surface issue that we're overlooking the real issue that would help us understand why we either do not belong here or if this is actually a fixable problem. Okay? So you got to get to the root of it. And if that root cannot be fixed, let them go, because you don't have to be able. I think sometimes women get so fixated on, I have to prove he's cheating so I can validate leaving, versus I can validate leaving by the behavior he continues to show me. Like basically the mistreatment is enough. The gaslighting is enough. The shady behavior is enough. If he's unwilling to correct it, that is enough to leave. You don't need cheating to be what it is. And this is hitting my spirit, and I'm going to say this. I probably would have waited to the end of the video, but I'm going to mention it now. And I say it with love, in all seriousness. A lot of you have experienced cheating, and a lot of you needed to be cheated on. And I say that to mean many of you would have never left your toxic situation without it. All right? And you were holding on to a relationship that was not best for you. And you were doing what I was basically discussing, as in overlooking the root issues, fixated on the wrong things. And you needed something as strong as this to break you free from that relationship. And so as hurtful as it can be a blessing in disguise for those of you who needed a way out. However, I don't want those of you who are still in it to wait for that to be the case. I want those of you who know already deep inside you're not where you belong to find the strength that you have within you, that you just need to tap into, to walk away and do what is best for you, to lean on God, to ask God to guide you in this situation. Now, again, there's going to be some scenarios where people generally need to fix where they are at, and they will be fine. But there are many of you who know deep inside it was never supposed to be this man. You were never in the right place. And for you, I need you to be able to walk away. So let me get to the next point. All right. So now another another sign men give before he cheats is he says and believes that all men cheat. All right. Some may not like me saying that, but I'm just going to be real with y'all. If a man ever says to you, all men cheat, you can pretty much count on him cheating on you. Like he's basically, forecasting for you what's going to happen. He's setting the stage by letting you know this is what all men do. So basically when I do it, don't look at me like I'm different from the rest. Just stay with me because you're going to get cheated on anyway. That's basically what he's trying to convey. Okay? And so it's not only just he views all men as cheating, he also shows a belief or an ideology that doesn't see anything wrong with it. Because the reality is that some men grow up in a culture of cheating, grow up in a culture of having many women, right? And to them, there's nothing wrong with that. That's the lifestyle. That's what men do. And so you as a woman have to be mindful of when you talk to a man and he is willingly conveying that to you. Because granted, some men will hide that mentality. They don't acknowledge that that's the way they see things. So I can't fault you if he's not being real with you. But I know of situations where men have been very straightforward with it, but the woman not register it for what it is and instead just believe, okay, well, maybe I'll be fine here. And it's like, no. Now, if you yourself, because just as some men grow up in a culture of cheating, there are some women who grow up in a culture of cheating, to the point where some women view cheating as all men cheat. This is just what's going to happen. And they're willing to accept it. I'm not saying you should, but what I'm saying is, if you've made that choice and you're going to deal with this man who does it, that's what two grown adults want to do. That's on them. All right. But then there shouldn't be any problem when it happens, because this is what you said you're signing up for. But if you know you don't want that in your relationship, or you're not at a place where you can deal with that and accept that, then don't convince yourself otherwise. Don't act like, or don't ignore when a man is being pretty straightforward about his perception and ideology when it comes to being faithful in a relationship. All right, so here's another one. Another sign men give before they cheat is that he's very vague or doesn't talk at all about when he's away from you. Okay? So essentially, relationships require us to bring our worlds together, right? And be able to share with each other what's going on in our lives, at least healthy relationships. Those who keep their other lives too separate risk creating a huge conflict, because once your partner starts to hear about things, whether through other people, especially through other people or through social media, that you ain't telling them yourself, they start to feel alienated, they start to feel devalued, dismissed, and then they start to question, what else are you hiding from me? So when we want to have a healthy relationship, we have to be willing and able to share with each other what's going on in our lives. And so when we have a scenario where here's this man that whenever he is not around you and you ask him, well, how was your day, or what was going on? And it's like, he don't want to talk about it at all. That's a red flag. Now, again, I say red flag and not automatic he's cheating, because we have plenty of scenarios of men who don't know how to open up, are just non-communicative. And to them, they may see it as, what's the point? They don't like that kind of small talk. How's your day? All these different things. So we don't want to automatically rush to it, but it's a cause for concern. And it's something to at least dive deeper into. Now, I do think this is one of those signs where you can't just look at this by itself. You got to look at this in combination with one of the other or more things on this list. I think that's when it makes it more a stronger sign of, okay, he's out there in these streets doing something. All right. Otherwise, I'm more willing to at least assume that, or maybe not assume, because you know what happens when we assume, but I'm more willing to give belief to the idea that he's just one of those types of guys. And I think you also have to be mindful of, okay, how open is he in general? Because if he's open and talkative about everything else, except for when he's away from you, now that's even a stronger red flag, right? But if he's just like that in general, then okay, that just might be part of his character. So it's just another one of those things to look out for. All right, so we got a few more, and I'm going to try to run through these pretty quickly because I want to get to that question of, can a man love you if he cheats on you? So the next sign a man gives before he cheats is he starts paying attention more to his appearance, okay? Now, here's the thing. If this man has never been into how he looks and taking care of himself, and then out of nowhere, he's all into it, again, then there's cause for concern. Because I do think if someone's always been like that, then there's no reason to just jump to that conclusion. I also think that we have to be mindful of, okay, what else is going on in his life? Did he start a new job? Has he been trying to work on himself more in general? What's going on? But if none of those things are present, and all of a sudden this man who used to walk out the house looking like a bum now wants to walk out the house looking like I don't know whatever, it's just looking good and looking smooth and on point all the time, then yeah. And sometimes it may not be a flat out cheating. It could be he's getting attention from women and he likes it. And this new attention he's getting has motivated him to take better care of himself because he likes the compliments and he likes the looks and all these different things. But that's still something to be mindful of, because a man who's not used to getting attention, all of a sudden getting all this female attention, it is easier for him to possibly potentially cross certain lines because he's not used to navigating in that space. He doesn't know what it feels, and it's very easy. Not that he goes into it with the intention to cross those lines, but he gets caught up in it. All right, and next thing you know, he's doing things he's not supposed to do. So again, just another one of those signs to look out for and to address if it comes up. So now here's one, and I want to be very careful with how I present this one. But the next sign a man gives before he cheats is it's a mixture of past cheating behavior in maybe previous relationships or in your relationship mixed with the current signs. Now, here's the reason why I want to be delicate with this. I know some people believe once a cheater, always a cheater. I do not agree with that. All right. I understand that there are many situations where people have made bad decisions, have made mistakes. I know some people don't view cheating as a mistake, but I have so many stories and I wish I had more time to break them down, but trust and believe. There are some situations that are intentional. There are some situations that are mistakes. There's a lot more layers to it. But anyways, intentional or not, I've seen people turn their life around, so to speak. I've seen people go from, yes, there was a huge disconnect in that previous relationship that led to infidelity, but now they've healed past traumas. They're in a healthier, happier relationship, and they are so far from ever entertaining the possibility of cheating in their head. Now, of course, anything is possible. No one's perfect. It can happen. I believe with the right circumstances and the right buttons pushed, anything is possible. But that person is not in a mindset of, I'm going to be out here cheating and entertaining other stuff. All right. So just because it happened in the past doesn't automatically mean it will happen in the future. And that's why I said it's more so of a concern or a sign when the past behavior is combined with current behavior that's in alignment with potential cheating. Because now that's a cause for concern. Because I will say this, the person who has once cheated but does not want to cross that line again, wants to be better in that way, is going to be very careful of not engaging in behaviors like the ones I mentioned. Like if he's trying to make sure my woman doesn't think I'm out here doing stuff, he's going to be more open with his phone. He's going to be more transparent about where he's been and what's going on. You know, he's not going to want to create any kind of environment that leads to her thinking he's doing that. So if he does engage in those behaviors, that just to me says he's probably slipping and he's probably out here. There's a chance he's out here doing some things he's not supposed to do. All right. So last but not least, and I'll answer that question from the beginning. The sign, and this is not a sign a man gives, but it's a sign I have to put on the list. And that's simply your intuition. At the end of the day, I can give you all these signs and things to look out for. And I do believe, we have to always be willing to address things and discuss things rather than accuse and attack people. But at the end of the day, your intuition is your greatest guide. It is a blessing from God. And you've got to be willing to listen to it. Again, at the very least, I'm not saying your intuition tells you and just up and leave. Unless literally God's leading you to do that, then so be it. But at the very least, investigate. And not investigate as in snooping. And I know, I guess talking about it directly doesn't always give the answers, right? But I do think that's at least still the correct approach initially. It is better to first discuss it than to sit there dwelling in thinking and overanalyzing, because now, even if he's not cheating, you projecting that or you holding on to that idea causes you to bring an energy to the relationship that throws everything off. All right. Because I've seen situations where it wasn't actually the woman's intuition. It was her fear and her past traumas being projected onto her current man. And because she wasn't properly addressing it, but instead just looking for stuff, she was driving this man crazy and ruining the relationship with a man who actually wasn't cheating on her, being 100% faithful. So you want to be mindful of that. And before we wrap this up, let me answer the question. Can a man love you if he cheats on you? Yes. I know y'all gonna be like, Stephan, you are tripping. No, that's impossible. Hear me out. Again, I'm not saying every situation of a man who ever cheated on a woman is a man who actually loved that woman. What I am saying is, though it's an unpopular opinion or unpopular perspective that many will disagree with, the reality is that we're all human beings. And again, as I mentioned before, I have seen scenarios where bad decisions were made, mistakes were made, and they were independent of them loving their partner, and more so a factor of the vulnerable position they were in that moment, the mental state they were in that moment, the environment they found themselves or put themselves or allowed themselves to be in that moment. But it wasn't, I don't love my partner, because again, a lot of times when people cross that line, there's something else that's going on in that moment. It's about them. And yes, they may be being selfish in that moment, but that whole moment doesn't define everything about them and their partner. And this is why I say, again, people don't want to hear this, people don't like this, but I'm being real with y'all. When cheating occurs, we have to be mindful of looking at the overall picture. Because I always say cheating can be a symptom of something being broken in the relationship, or a symptom of a relationship that did not belong together from day one. All right. And when we're able to get to the root issues, we can see more clearly, is this fixable or not? There are some people who it's happened, they fixed it, and they're living happily ever after. They are better than they ever were before. They were able to overcome it. There are others where they try to overcome it and fail miserably. Why? Because they never were best for each other. It was never supposed to work. It was never going to work. All right. And then you have others that didn't even try. It just ended things and it was a wrap, because, you know, for them, they couldn't see themselves bouncing back from it. There's, again, all kinds of scenarios, but at the end of the day, I'm going to always tell you to pray. I'm going to always tell you to talk to God. I'm going to always tell you, do not jump to conclusions, but address the issues, because the goal is healthier, happier relationships with the person that you truly belong with. Thank you for watching this video. I hope and pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on 9 signs a man is not mature enough for you. I know in society, at least in Western society, we have this perception of, that's a huge red flag if this man is living at home with his mother.